Our next guest is the first ever UFC lightweight champion, the first lightweight to main event at UFC event, a prior 2005 lightweight Grand Prix quarterfinalist and a huge part of the legendary Miletich camp. He now calls Sydney home while he is head coach for Wimp to Warrior, a show where he transforms an everyday person into an MMA fighter. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Lil Evil Jens Pulver to the program. Jens, it's an honor to have you.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
It's really great having you on the show. Now, Jens, as people may or may not know, you're currently in Sydney for the new season of Wimp to Warrior. What was it that drew you to being a part of such a unique program?
I think for me, when I first seen it, and we were just laughing about this, my wife and I were talking about it, and then of course I was talking with Richie, how the whole thing started. Twitter. Someone said, hey, you should get Jens Pulver to check out this Wimp to Warrior. And I got a look, and I'm like, oh, I'm in. I like it. And boom, the next thing you know, I come out to visit. And the first time I seen it, hooked. I came back to the finale at Luna Park, and that's all she wrote. I'm like, I'm in heaven. Sign me up. And, and they said, well, would you come out to coach? And luckily for me, my wife is extremely, extremely supportive, very busy as is. And she's like, yeah, you know what, let's do it. And so she sent me off out here, but I've been there. It's the beautiful side of MMA, and once I seen this, I had to be a part of it. This is what I've been waiting for my entire career.
Now, Jens, we've got a lot of listeners from around the world who may not have heard of Wimp to Warrior. Just for those people, could you explain what the concept of the show is and what Wimp to Warrior is all about?
Yeah, my version is what it is, and when I say everyday individual, I don't mean like I'm walking around as some sort of superhero, but we all have the things that we are comfortable with. Like I couldn't walk in and just start slamming down, correspondence. I couldn't start typing stories. I couldn't even doing interviews and stuff like that, doing your homework and things. Everybody, you kind of start to form your own habit. You get comfortable, whatever your world is. My world happened to be MMA, and I worked on punching, dodging, getting out of things, getting in shape, blocking kicks, things like that. Most are like, oh my God, it's so hard, but that was kind of my thing. But when I say everyday people, I just mean we're all everyday people, but so they come into our world, and it's the beautiful side of MMA. It's taking all the best parts of MMA, the fitness, the camaraderie. You're out there. You're an individual. You're trying to be on a team. You're not on a team standing out there throwing off your helmet, ripping off your jersey, doing whatever you can do to get your 5 seconds of fame and be an individual. You're not trying to dog on your team and, hey, look at me, I'm trying to be an individual. We're all individuals, and you're going to have that moment. You're going to step out there, and you're going to be by yourself, and you're going to represent you, your family, your coaches, everything that you've learned. So the best part, the camaraderie comes into it, is we're all individuals trying to be on a team, and that's one of the aspects that I love. The fitness aspect is rather than walking into a gym and just looking at some weights and going, man, you know what? Okay, I'll lift this, but, here the workouts are designed. They're set up. All you have to do is dress up and show up, and we'll take care of the rest, and that's something that I've always loved. We want to get the frustration out. We want to hit. We want to box. We want to do a move, bang on a bag, get to roll around, do the jiu-jitsu, learning submissions, learning positions, wrestling, all little things. Great fitness. You learn how to diet, and we're in there, and the best part is, why it takes so long is it's not like the Ultimate Fighter where it's 8 weeks and that. This is 5 months, 5.5 months, because the first 3 months we're going to get you literally from the couch to the gym, and we're going to get you in shape and build the body. Then from there, when we get that machine ready to run, then we're going to give it a racetrack. Then we're going to give it its destination, and we're going to show you how to get there. And at the end of it, you get to do the bucket list, and you're going to do one fight out there for everybody to see, for you to represent yourself and your friends and your family and your coaches and everything you've done. But rather than having quote-unquote teams, we have a red team and a blue team, all coached by the same coaches. Everybody is equal. That's the one thing, is we don't take anybody that is you cannot be an MMA fighter. You could have been a great college wrestler, so to speak, 15 years ago. And then when you come back, you know what I mean? Now, I've heard stories that that people are like worried about, oh, what happened? No, I mean, we'll try to keep the slate as clean and as neutral and as open as possible. And those are the people that we want. And right now, I mean, I've been looking at 65 guys, men and women. Amazing. It's, to me, it's just the most, again, it's the beautiful side of MMA. Everything that I love about MMA that I get to pass on to every one of these people. And then, ironically, we still have people from season 1, season 2. I'm looking at them right now back in here in Sydney at the Wimp to Warrior Gym training and still loving it. It's a lifestyle, and that's the one thing we get to pass on. We're changing lives, man, one punch at a time.
It's awesome. It's great to see, MMA having such a positive impact on people's lives, and also to see how, how passionate you are about it. Jens, we wanted to go back in time. You speak a lot about training. Not a lot of people may know, but you actually trained with Bob Shamrock back in the day. What's it like training at the line? What's it like training the Lions Den? And what was Bob like? Apparently, a young Nick and Nate Diaz would stop by.
Number one, may he rest in peace, and he's the epitome of what I started, and it was an amazing deal. When I first started, I was wrestling up at Boise State University, and I think the heavyweight, hopefully they've taken it down by now, but maybe not. I still have my little shrine, So I was up there with the wrestlers, and I was a wrestler at Boise State University, and then I got to meet the famous Bob Shamrock, and he said, "Come on down." I met him at a UFC, and I just started talking to him, and I went down and started training down there at Shamrock 2000. And the one thing was, still back then, everybody still had jobs. There was no money in MMA. It wasn't, we were doing it because we loved it, and it was, again, banned in all but 3 states. They didn't even have 155 pounds, so you have to be out your mind to even think you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And, or fight heavier, or how it was. So when I went down there with him, he taught me. He had the boys home, and that's how Ken and Frank Shamrock, he adopted them. There was a point where I was telling him, "Hey man, I want to change my name. I want to be a Shamrock. I want to be, I want to change my name." But he was always there for his kids. He always ran those boys homes, and he took care of them, and so I learned, and that's who started teaching me, and I started learning full well right there about giving back. And he was a phenomenal mentor, and he was an amazing person. Everything kind of had to part ways, and I went back up to wrestling because I wanted to do it full time. So when people talk about my career, I always tell them VHS to Blu-ray. That's literally my career.
Yeah.
When I first started, again, everybody had jobs. They would show up after work, and we would train for a couple hours. Everybody high-five, and they'd be gone. But I was a college wrestler. That's what I did all day long. If I wasn't in class, I was wrestling or lifting or, doing something. And so I wanted to do it full time. And that was that crossroads. So that's where, we were waiting for those athletes. And that's when it was Bob Shamrock who talked to Monty Cox. Monty Cox lived out in Iowa and had a little, and was a promoter for the Extreme Challenge, which had all these insane fighters. And I used to be like, oh my God, I loved it. I'm hearing about Pat Miletich. Obviously, he was the welterweight champion.
Yeah.
Jeremy Horn, my favorite fighter on the planet. This little guy, Matt Hughes, was just starting to fight. I'm like, oh, man, really? So he called them, and they had, I met them at my first UFC fight, and I went out there to start training with them. And the minute I did, guess what they were doing? Full time. We had workouts from at 9 o'clock to 12. Then we had the afternoon off. And we were back again in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, good Lord, I'm in heaven. And I've been in Iowa ever since. Man, I've been stuck in Iowa from that day. So Bob knew, and that's the one thing I learned about him, is the ability to go out and train and do other things. He wasn't like, nope, you're here, you have to be at this gym, you cannot be anywhere else. He's seen it. I was there every day. In fact, here's the story that most people don't know. This is why I'm so close to Nick Diaz. This is why he's like a little brother to me. There was this 16-year-old kid who would come in after school, and he would sit there and he'd punch a heavy bag, and he was training every day, drilling. And since I was in there every day, I'd always see him. Like, hey, what are you doing? Oh yeah, I'm have a break from school, or school just got out, so I'm in here working on my hands. So we just started hanging out. Later on, he gets into his first UFC a few years later, obviously, and I'm looking at him, and obviously he's much bigger. He goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" He goes, "Man, I used to train with you every day at Shamrock 2000. It's me, Nick Diaz." And so that's how far back Nick and I go. So he's like a little brother to me. And most people don't know that, but when I was first starting, he was just a youngster, and he was always in there. And I was, again, most people at work, I was there all day, and so Nick was my little buddy. So I would sit there and hit the bags with him, and you know what I mean, when he'd get off from school, and that's how far back I go with Nick. So it was real cool to have Nate Diaz later on, being able to coach him on the Ultimate Fighter. But yeah, that's how far me and Diaz go, is all the way back to Bob Shamrock, may he rest in peace. And the irony is still this: when I left Bob's house to go to Iowa. I took a train for 2.5 days, and I remember sitting there on that train. I wrote down goals and what I wanted to do, but I left everything behind. And I had showed up in Iowa with 2 bags. I had 1 bag with workout gear, and I had 1 bag with clothes. That's all I had. I had nothing else.
Wow.
And I slept at the gym, and thank God for Monty Cox and his family. They allowed me to stay at their house. I got to know them a little better, and they trusted me enough. Hey, you know, you can. So I got to be, you know, and Monty basically opened the door and let me stay with his family. So I'm extremely thankful for that. And then I just spent every day at the gym training and said, here we go. It's time to go. I'm here for a reason. Let's go be a world champion. And so yeah, I literally showed up with 2 bags. Said, okay, I'm ready. Point me in a direction, you know.
Wow, what a
answer. Oh.
What a story, Jens. You know, I want to ask you about your first championship in the UFC. But before that, you know, you did mention Nick Diaz and how close you were. Were you a little bit disappointed when you heard about, you know, him testing positive for marijuana again? And now he's got to go face the commission. And it looks like, you know, they may make an example out of him, and he may miss a couple of years of fighting.
I wish they would stop doing that, you know. I mean, because, again, what are we talking about when people are getting mad about steroids and growth and things like that? What are we pissed about when we're testing for that? When people fail those tests, what are we mad? Why are we mad? Their performance enhancing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
At what point has anybody grown up all them God-given videos you had to watch when you were a kid? Now, this will be the first time I've ever actually spoke out about this, so hopefully I'm going to not get too crazy. But,
sure.
But I'm just saying, at what point did anybody – weed was supposed to make you stupid, slow, clumsy, fumbling, forgetful, okay? At what point are any of those attributes, if you can even call them attributes, performance enhancing?
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
So, okay, granted, illegal. We're not talking about that right now. What I'm talking about is performance enhancing. What I'm talking about is I'm going to throw a fine on you. I'm going to throw a penalty on you the same way I'm going to throw it on this guy who just failed for D-ball and every other performance enhancing drug. You failed on weed, which is, to my knowledge, makes you sleepy, hungry, and basically clumsy. Doesn't sound very performance enhancing. So you're pounding me. You're gonna make me go through the same. I have to go through the same thing. Now wait, why can't I go to drug rehab for a day? No, nobody. I mean, no, I'm dead ass serious.
Yeah.
Pardon my language, but that's what pisses me off about this is, and it's not just because it's Nick or anybody else. I'm just mean. So are we calling marijuana what we've been learning since we were kids, babies? Are we calling marijuana a performance-enhancing drug? Because if so, then by all means, slap on the same kind of fines, fees, and penalties that you were going to bust somebody for doing Dynabol, anabolic this, growth this, and performance-enhancing drugs. And I'm going to give you the same thing for doing what actually is supposed to be, what I've always been taught, to do the opposite, make you fat, tired, and sleepy. That's my point. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand why you would do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the performance-enhancing aspect, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I guess the big thing here is it looks like Anderson Silva will get punished, but Nick Diaz is going to get punished a lot worse than him, and that's for doing marijuana.
And I don't understand why. Is that okay? Are we talking about criminal? Are we talking about why? If it's not performance-enhancing, why? And that's what I would have to ask any one of them. Not to mention that, how many times have you been busted?
This would be his 3rd time.
Why even test him? He's never said he's not. He has his card, I believe, right? I mean, isn't it legal if you have a card in California or whatever it is? Isn't it legal?
I don't know if he has a card, to be honest. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I
don't.
have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, again, I'm only, and that's why I'm trying to stay out of the political side of it all. I'm not trying to say right, wrong. I'm not trying to say foul or not.
Yeah.
All I'm asking, and all my only question is, aren't they two separate things? Performance-enhancing drugs, which seems to be just running rampant with steroids and, the growth hormones and things like that they're supposed to increase your performance. All the classes I've ever learned or taught since we were little kids, and the dude was singing on a videotape about how weed makes you dumb, and Tally getting high, trying to pass the bill.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's about eating munchies and whatever it is, but it makes you clumsy. That doesn't sound performance enhancing.
Yeah. No, I mean
and somebody said, "Oh, go ahead, what?"
No, I was just going to say, I completely understand where you're coming from. And I mean, it's one of those things that's been debated for so long, and usually majority of people are on the same side that you are on. So in a time when guys like Anderson Silva are popping for steroids, it's definitely a worthy sort of point. I just want to jump to something else, Jens. I want to talk about your championship reign. You were the first UFC lightweight champion back in the day before the division really blew up. Did you realize how much of a big deal it was going to be at a time when you held the belt?
I knew it. I believed in it from day one. I know sometimes Dana feels like, I bailed on the UFC. Or, I didn't believe how big it was going to be. I knew how big this was going to be because when I started out to become a fighter, it was legal in 3 states. They just had the 170-pound class, and there was no talks of doing a 55 or below. People used to tell me, well, you're going to have to go 170 pounds. I said, no, I'm absolutely not going to go 170 pounds. I'll just knock enough people out. I said, I remember this verbatim. I don't remember the words. I'll knock enough people out, they'll make my weight class. We'll make 155. And that's what I did. I just kept fighting at 170. I fought guys that were 230, whoever. I fought for videotape. I fought for free just to have videotape. VHS, man, videotape. And I knew that I believed in this sport because to me it was wrestling. I went as far as I could in wrestling. Wrestling got knocked down so small that there literally were 10 weight classes. You had to be in the top 3 in the country to be on the national team to even have any kind of chance at making any kind of money to do it for a living. So I knew I was done with that, but I wanted to continue to compete. I always felt growing up that, I always wanted to be a boxing world champion. I always wanted to be a world champion boxing. It was a dream of mine because I never heard about something like MMA, And then when I was in college and this stuff started, I was in high school and this thing started coming on, like, oh, good Lord, look at this, like wrestling with training wheels. I can start punching, but man, I can always keep my wrestling. Oh, I've been waiting for something like this because I always felt like, you might be able to beat me on the mat. You might be able to out-wrestle me, but boy, if I could just add in a couple of punches, things might be different. And sure as heck, I got to find out and prove it. And to me, that was the one part. I knew this was going to be big. I put my life into a sport that, like I said, was legal in 3 states. It didn't even have my weight class. It wasn't even on TV. It was kept alive via the internet. MMA Underground, love you guys. You know what I mean? The MMA forums. And I looked at my principal, and she told me this. I had just gotten my job. I was going to be the wrestling coach at Timberline High School. I was going to be a resource officer. I was going to help kids make decisions on, getting good grades and going to college, And I had the job for 2 months, and I got asked, hey, we want to do this 155-pound fight between you and Alfonso Alcaraz. We're going to title it 170, but I want you guys to both weigh in at 155. John Peretti goes, this is going to be my project. Now, again, back then, we're talking 6 shows a year. There wasn't that gigantic undercard of 15 fights, you know what I mean? And so they were going to make a new weight class? Oh, it's crazy. And so we went out there and we fought at 155 pounds. And I remember telling the teacher, look, I need to go do this. I want to go down here to California. I want to train with Bob Shamrock because I knew the name. I was familiar with it. And, I've been waiting my whole life. And she told me this, and I still remember to this day. She goes, here's the deal, Jens. Life is short. Your athletic life is just a sliver.
Mm.
If life is short, your athletic life is just a sliver. You can always come back and help kids. You can always come back and talk to kids. You can always come back and direct kids. So when you go do this, you do it for all it's worth. And that's where I came up with saying, you ride it till the wheels fall off. I said, thank you. Because she's the one that gave me the job. She's the one that gave me her blessings. And with that, 2 bags, off I went to start this insane journey called MMA. But that's how much I believed in it.
Wow.
And now I see Wimp the Warrior, and here I am, all the way. I don't even know how far. It's a heck of a train ride. Oh,
Yeah.
Showed up with 2 bags, left my family. Thank God for Skype
Yeah.
and social networking. Left my family to come out here and be a part of something I believe in more than, or just as much as I believed when I wanted to be a world champion in the UFC.
Wow. And, I wish me and Casper had good teachers and good people to work with like that. She sounds like a wonderful person. Now, one fight I have to touch on because it was an instant classic was your fight with BJ Penn. What did that win mean to you? And what was going through your mind when you stood toe-to-toe and exchanged strikes in that exciting 5th round?
The thing was this. I still remember I was commentating when he fought Cal Uno.
Mm.
And he walked out there, and he destroys Uno in, it had to be, I think it was 20 seconds.
Yeah.
This is the man that they flew me to Japan to watch him fight Rumina Sato. And if you don't know Rumina Sato, everybody, please, YouTube him. You'll thank me later. You want to talk about a man well before his time with submissions, go get a gander of Rumina. It's ridiculous. And so I was sitting there, and I'm watching these 2 fight. I'm watching Uno wins, defends his belt. Dana Lorenzo looked at me and go, that's who you're fighting. And I remember verbatim, this. The one thing they always wanted, they go, when you look at a UFC belt, nobody's going to say, oh, my God, but you still have the Pride champ, or you have this guy, he's the champ of this organization, the champ of this. You're going to be like, oof, the UFC, that's it. There is no belt bigger. That is the belt.
Mm.
And they proved it. They went out and had the best 155-pounder on the planet, Cal Uno, and they bought him in. You don't think I'm second-guessing my world. I'm like, man, really? Am I good enough to fight that? So when I fought him, it was for 25 minutes, and I beat him. Now I'm hearing about this super kid, BJ Penn, who is a dynamo on the ground, a world champion, first ever U.S. American Jiu-Jitsu world champion. And he's knocking everybody out on his feet. And he goes out there and he knocks Cal Uno out in 20 seconds on his feet. And I remember Osborne commentating to me and goes, man, Jens, I don't envy you, brother. That's going to be your next opponent. Man, I do not envy you. And I still remember, thanks to Joe Silva, I looked down and I said, you know what? He ain't evil. He ain't me. Bring it. So I was sitting there cage side commentating when BJ destroyed Uno. There was no ifs, ands, buts under the sun. I was a 7-1 underdog. We were the first ever main event at the Mohegan Sun, lightweight main event at the Mohegan Sun. One story that if you really want me to get holistic, this will blow your mind. I will tell this story if you want, but it's going to take like 10 minutes because I'm long-winded. But here's one that most people don't know unless you were there. The Mohegan Sun, the hotel itself wasn't built yet. And so we were staying at this Best Western. They had the whole hotel with all the fighters and everybody staying there. And flying on the plane, we had a delay, so we all came in on the same plane. And I'm laughing, having a good time, just high-fiving Matt Hughes and Jeremy Horn and, Pat Miletich stuff. We're just laughing. Tony Flippin, we're just giggling. And BJ couldn't understand it. He couldn't get it. What? Doesn't he know he's got to fight me? What's he laughing about? What's he smiling for? Is he really this wrecked? And it wrecked him. He didn't like it. He's like, I can't look at this guy for the week. So he shipped off to a different hotel. Boy, that was a blessing and a half, but here's why. Evidently, this food poisoning went around. Some guys started getting it early, and they were lucky. Like, they were going to the hospital, have to get shots and IVs. It was giving people the shakes. They were, it was horrible. I think and I don't tell much about it, but Dave Monet, I feel so bad for Dave Monet, and nobody's ever clarified this. When he fought Murilo Bustamante, Dave Monet was the champion. When they pulled this is how tough or stupid. I don't know which one I don't know who would say what, but this is, in my world, this is how tough Dave Monet was. He's on the toilet, throwing up out of his behind with the runs, leaning into a garbage can, throwing up. It hits him right around fight time, the flu bug or whatever that thing is, hits it. So that poor kid is sitting there doing that and looks up at them and they go, it's time. He goes, it's time? Yeah, he goes, oh. Now I had heard about a couple of guys, they went and got the shots, they had 2 or 3 pairs of shorts on because they were getting greasy. They were juiced, you know what I mean? Because it gave you you had the runs. I mean, this food, whatever this was horrible. And they look at me and they go, all right, but it's time to go. He wiped off his mouth, washed out his mouth, put on his clothes, and went out and fought like that. You've got to be kidding me. And he got beat. Yeah. He did it because he was the co-main event, and he was not going to let that thing forfeit. He was not going to. There's not a man alive today that would be in that situation with this kind of money that would do what he did to honor his own word. Me, I'm up in my hotel. I got nowhere to go. I'm playing video games. I'm cool. It doesn't hit me. I get through the fight. I beat BJ Penn. And no, I did not tap on that armbar because we all knew how much time me, BJ, and Big John could hear Jeremy Horn counting. We knew how much time was left. So what happened is right at the bell, boop, I'd punch him and go get him off me because we all heard about the time. I got lucky that the fence was there to help me, but I was wiggling. I was in trouble, but I was wiggling. But we all knew how much time. So when Bob was yelling, he tapped. I didn't tap. I yelled, get him off me because we all heard the time. But so 4 hours after the fight, I'm laying down, and it hits me.
Oh, wow.
The most violent flu runs I've ever. Here's how I met poor Tony Strickland's mom after 2-hour drive because I had to keep making him pull over so I could heave on the side of the road. I get to his house. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Strickland. Very nice to meet you. Where's your bathroom? Is that your bathroom? Thank you. And I went in there and started throwing up and stuff on the floor. For the first 2 days, they're like, is he okay? No, he's not okay. He's sick. So I tell the story. It was all stars had aligned for me to go out there and show everybody. This is why you do not make Jens a 7-1 underdog. You do not tell him that he's going to get knocked out or submitted or beat, at least the younger Jens. Oh. And even the flu had to wait 5 hours before it could completely decimate me because I was going to win that damn fight. So there's my story. Most people don't know that, but now they know.
When people tell that story in like 100 or 1,000 years, Jens, they're gonna say how like you actually controlled the flu and like you met up with the flu and you pushed it to the side. You said, "Come back in 5 hours, man. I got to fight," and stuff like that. It's gonna be like a mythological story.
Could you fathom the cartoon right now? Rolls up on a dust cloud like the pale rider coming in from the devil, and you got to make the deal. Look, here's the deal, buddy. You give me this fight. Then you can come in and just tear my body to shrapnel because it tore me. Oh, my God, it was 3 days before I could even function. At one point, I was dry heaving so bad, I just had to tell him, dude, don't even pull over. There's nothing in me. There's nothing going to come out. I go, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, it was 5 hours after that fight.
Wow.
I have never been, to this day, I've never been so sick. Ever. Wow. Me and the Fricklins, we still laugh about that. But yeah, it's like, that'll be the cartoon. Wait, hold on. This is my destiny. Sit there, and then like you get out of the cage, here comes the cartoon, you go back and lock him and go, okay. Take a deep breath and breathe her on in.
Yeah. You're going to live to be like 100 years old, Jens. When the Reaper comes, you're going to be like, I'm not ready for you, man. Go away. Come back in like 20 years. He'll be like, oh, okay, that was weird. That was awkward. And then he'll come back.
Yep, let's do it.
I was going to say, we've probably only got about 10 minutes, gents. We're going to run through.
I'm long-winded, man.
That's okay. We're going to ask you a few more questions. Something that we really wanted to know, because we had Pat Miletich on the show just very recently, and everybody knows about everybody knows about the crazy wars, the gym wars, the sparring sessions. I want to talk about that. You trained obviously with the Miletich camp. What was it like on sparring day? Can you take us through that? What was the feeling like when you knew you were a few hours away? And tell us about those gym wars.
Oh, here's the thing, and I remember it more than I remember it verbatim, and we all thought it, and we all believed it back then, especially. If I'm going to experience a broken nose, if I'm going to experience a leg kick so deep, it takes 4 weeks before the bruise even shows up, or I'm going to experience a liver shot, or the power of a man smashing down on me and pinning me, sitting in side mount, and I can't move, or a guillotine, I don't want to find out for the first time in the cage against an opponent. And we believe that. If you're not pushing, if you're walking in there and you're beating up everybody, you're in the wrong gym because you're not learning. You know what I mean? And that's just what we were. That was the time where we did it full time, and we just were tougher and fitter than everybody else. And sometimes the kicks and the punches were mind blowing. But guess what? I was never surprised. In fact, when I went to go fight BJ Penn, the only confidence I had more than anything else was this: you do not wrestle like Matt Hughes. No way you're that strong. You cannot kick like Pat Miletich, I'll guarantee it. And you are not as well-rounded as the infamous I cannot get hurt Jeremy Horn. So I had the confidence of knowing my team, that the quote-unquote hell I went through. My day off was when I stepped into that cage, because I actually got to fight somebody that was my weight, and I didn't know him. So I could actually just start going after this, just let it go.
Yeah.
I could put all those things I learned. And that's what we did. We made each other the toughest rat pack you could find. And it wasn't out of maliciousness. It was not out of hate. It was that's where the sport was. That's what we needed at that time. We were the fittest, and we were the baddest, because we pushed each other. If I'm going to get beat up, it's going to be by my brother, not by the guy that's coming in here. Don't be one of the cornermen. The hardest job I ever had was being a cornerman. I loved being in the cage because I did not want to see people hit my brother Matt Hughes. I did not want to see people try to touch Jimmy Horn, and I damn sure didn't want to see nobody hit one of my teammates or try to beat up Pat Miletich. Couldn't stand. None of us could. We all wanted to be the ones fighting. And that's what I said in the very beginning, why I love Wimp to Warrior, why I love MMA and the individual combative sport. We were dying to be on a team. Let me go. I'll go first. Let me get in the cage. And I always was the first one. I was the first one to walk out of that locker room. There'd be 4 of us in that locker room getting ready to fight on a UFC card. You really think I'm not going to be the one that comes back? Oh, man. Oh, Jen, so sorry. I'm not going to. We come back. Yeah. There you go, guys. I set the pace. Come on. You know what I mean? That's how much I love those guys. So when people talk about we were young, and we were beating each other up because nobody else was going to. I can beat up my brother, but you better not touch my brother, because if you do, oof, God, it's going to suck.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Hopefully there's no crazy sparring sessions and Wimp to Warrior just yet. But I was going to ask you, Pat was on the show and he mentioned, and this is just something I want to really quickly touch on. He spoke about one of you guys, Robbie Lawler, obviously amazing moment, won the championship. He discussed how he believed that, if he versed GSP, he'd actually beat him if a fight eventuated. Just wondering, this is a big hypothetical that a lot of fans are wondering. And as a guy that knows Robbie very well, how do you think a fight would go between Robbie and GSP?
I think the same thing, that if Robbie didn't doubt the way his confidence is right now, it's amazing. I knew that he could beat Johnny because he does a phenomenal job of moving like a boxer. He can cut angles and he can set it up. Somehow Johnny got him to stand right in front of him, and he got picked apart. And I think he learned his lesson. GSP does a great job of getting you to come towards him, and then he'll start taking you down. So he picks on the box. He'll pick on a wrestler by going after their strengths. He'll pick on a striker by going after their strengths. But Robbie has a different set. He has a different tool set. I think that's the one thing is he won't get bait. If he moves like a boxer and he does everything behind that super jab that he has, and he is finding his groove now, it would be a phenomenal fight because he has the same kind of patience that GSP does. GSP will pick. He will pick at your iron. He will pick at your armor and find the openings, and then he'll go in, boop, boop, boop. And then once it starts to open up, and all of a sudden you're ready to block his wrestling, then he starts striking you. That's the one thing about GSP is he goes where you're strongest and he beats it. Then he makes you switch to where you're weakest, and then he beats on that even more. And Robbie has anybody that has that kind of power you have to fear. But anybody that has that kind of movement and the ability to get to his feet as fast as he can, oof, man, you know what I mean? Makes it tough. He's got great conditioning, he's got a great coach, and he has found his groove. He has found his groove. I don't personally, GSP is a phenomenal, he's an awesome strategist. He will pick at you. Some people won't call it exciting or whatever, but I think it's extremely exciting because he goes where you're strong and he beats it. He goes where you're weak and he exploits it. And that's what I love about him. But with Robbie, the groove that he has found now, it would just be, if he keeps his patience and he keeps his demeanor that he has, it would be an extremely tough game. I think he gets frustrated. I think he gets hurt and drive GSP nuts. Unless the one thing that Robbie needs to run, or the only problem right now for like Robbie or anybody is a wrestler that wants to clinch. Again, if you've seen Robbie, whoever can get him to stop and stand right in front of you. When Johnny Hendricks it seemed almost hurt, he was able to get Robbie to stop and just sit there and paw, and then Johnny was able to land the right hand, and Johnny was able to throw that kick, and he was able to land him and then move, and Robbie didn't do anything. But when Robbie slides side to side, Robbie moves like a boxer. Like he and I used to sit there and watch videos of young Mike Tyson, young Michael Moore, a young Evander Holyfield, Muhammad Ali, all these people. We would study them all day and watch this movement. Bobby can move like a boxer. The Bob can hit, slide in, and he can hurt you with both hands. Johnny Hendricks and guys like that can't. GSP can, but it would be a matter of, I think Robbie's just real patient as well and wouldn't fall into the game that GSP can lull you into. And it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun to watch. But, I don't know. And I personally would probably have to, with everybody failing tests and stuff like that, we were talking about that in the very beginning, and GSP, I know he's a big advocate about it, wouldn't come out and fight. But as far as everybody knows, the young Bobby, he don't do any of that, so it takes away everything you're saying why you don't want to fight. Well, guess what? You got a guy holding the champion of your weight class who's, to my knowledge, clean as can be. Fight him. If you really are an advocate of standing up for what you believe in, the steroids and all the performance-enhancing drugs and things like that, well, Robbie's, there he is, your champ. Hasn't been popped, done anything, to my knowledge, never has, never will.
And it's definitely a fight
he's natural Bob.
It's definitely a fight that all the fans would want to see. Jens, we're going to have to let you go in just a second, but we want to ask you something really quickly. Let's discuss your return from retirement, to ONE FC. Many fans were excited to hear you be making a comeback after such a legendary career. Some are wondering what motivates you to come back for another fight after doing so much in the sport. What drives Jens Pulver to compete?
I had the struggles, and I don't hide from them. I had the mental struggles that made me, I was losing to dumb things, shooting into a guillotine, getting caught. The losing streak I went on, it wasn't knockouts where I'm sitting there, I don't know my name. I lost hope, man. And go get the movie Seabiscuit. Heck, man. Or we in Australia, go get Far Lap. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And you got to bring the animal back, man. You got to bring the spirit back inside him, because that one loss turns to two losses and you just lose it. And then you start thinking down on yourself, and that's the worst thing you want to do. But when I come out here, one of the reasons why I wanted to do it is, one, it'll be the first time ever I wouldn't have to actually experience jet lag, so that whales. I've never been able to do that. Two, I love Richie Cranny and the coaching staff that cheer, Thiago, me, Rachel, everybody that coaches these Wimp Warriors. I believe in what they teach. And what better way to prove it to all the individuals that are here, that not only do I believe what we're teaching you, I use it. So minus the simple fact that I've been doing this for a long time and I'm quote unquote Jens Pulver, and you're doing this as a bucket list and may only fight one time. What we're teaching you, I do the same thing. So we're not giving you just some kind of fluff. We're not giving you something just to kill some time. We're teaching you things that I want to learn and I want to use and I want to, and I want to. That was one of my bigger motives. But above that, 40, man, 40. When I was a kid growing up, I was scared to death of just saying 40. To me, that was death. Gray-haired, shriveled up, boop. Dude, look at me. I feel phenomenal. Oh, my God, I feel incredible. So that's my bucket list. That's my gift to myself, being 40 years old. I sat out for a year now. Haven't touched, haven't trained, haven't done anything. I'm away from my wife. I'm away from my kids. I'm not even going to get into the epiphanies and the dream I had because I did write it down. It was 6 years ago, and my wife is just like, oh, my God, she's just tripping. I wrote this thing down 6 years ago, but I'm not getting into it. So, But right now I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything I said I would do 6 years ago. And I'm talking about all the way from being away from them, putting myself into when I say miserable state, meaning I don't have my family with me. I'm so far away I couldn't hop in a car and drive for 5 hours and see them. But I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in the Wimp to Warrior family. I believe in passing on the words and the things that we learned, the encouragement, the training, the regimens that I've been through in my life. Coaches saved me when I was growing up. My brother's serving 55 years in prison. My dad shoved a shotgun down my throat when I was 5 and said he was going to kill me. Coaches raised me. They made me into the man I am today, and now it's my turn. It's my turn to be the mentor. It's my turn to be the coach. And I get to do it out here with the Wimp to Warrior family. And I get to do it in front of all these people. And it's right where I'm supposed to be. As hard and as ironic as that sounds, because, God, I miss my wife. But you know what? She's sitting on Skype, and I can wave to her on the computer right now. What's up? And, you know what I mean? I still get to see him. This is right where I'm supposed to be. So everything I've been through in my world led me to here. I'm on the right path.
Absolutely. Well put, Jens. Guys, you can check out Wimp to Warrior at www.wimptowarrior.com.au. It looks to be a very, very exciting season, probably one of the best ones yet. And make sure to follow.
We have open classes. Come down to the gym. I'm actually coaching all day. I love it. I'm coaching and hanging out, training with everybody. I mean, I love it. I'm having a blast.
Anybody in Sydney or traveling around Australia, make sure you stop by the gym and follow Jens on Twitter at Jens_Pulver. Jens, when your fight does get announced around May, we'll have you back on the show. There's so much left to cover. I feel like we just went through a couple of questions, but thank you so much for coming onto the program. It's just been an absolute pleasure having a legend like yourself on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I talk long, but I talk long, but that's my way of proving that I'm not punchy just yet. So I'm long-winded. Thank you guys very much for your time.